Breaking the silence, how trauma becomes triumph. Have you ever looked at a scar on your body and realized it tells a story, not just of pain, but of healing, of survival, of the remarkable ability of human tissue to repair itself, leaving behind a mark that says, "This happened and I'm still here." Today, I want to talk about the scars we can't see, the ones etched into our spirits by childhood trauma, the ones we often hide even from ourselves. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Tory Collins, whose revolutionary work in trauma recovery has literally transformed thousands of lives across continents. What makes Tory's approach so groundbreaking isn't just the depth of clinical expertise, but the radical compassion that infuses every aspect of their methodology. Tory has pioneered trauma informed practices that are now being adopted by major institutions worldwide, creating ripple effects that will benefit generations to come. What struck me most about our conversation wasn't just the wisdom Tory shared, but the revolutionary premise at its core that our deepest wounds can become our greatest sources of power. As Tori so eloquently put it, the very experiences designed to destroy us can become the foundation upon which we build extraordinary lives. Let that sink in for a moment. The very experiences designed to destroy us. We live in a culture obsessed with origin stories. We love hearing how billionaires started in garages, how athletes overcame injuries, how artists found their voice. But we rarely talk about the origin stories that begin with a child who wasn't protected, who wasn't safe, who learned too early that the world can be a terrifying place. According to the CDC, about 60% of American adults report experiencing at least one type of childhood trauma. That's not just a statistic, that's most of us in this room right now. Look around, that's the person sitting next to you. That might be you. And yet, we walk around pretending we're fine, carrying these invisible burdens while smiling through meetings, raising families, building careers, all while a voice inside whispers, if they knew what happened to you, if they knew who you really are. But what if that voice is wrong? What if, as Tory Collins suggests, your past doesn't define your future? Consider Tonya Kane. Her story, which Tori shared during our interview, is nothing short of extraordinary. Tonya endured severe childhood abuse that led to homelessness, addiction, and incarceration. For 16 years, she lived on the streets, trapped in cycles of substance abuse fueled by unresolved trauma. She was arrested 83 times. She lost custody of 4 children. By society's standards, she was a lost cause, a statistic, someone to be written off. But today, Tonier is an internationally recognized speaker who advocates for trauma informed practices in healthcare and criminal justice systems. She's authored memoirs, been featured in documentaries, and consults with global organizations about survivor centered recovery models. What changed? Tonier encountered intervention programs focused on healing her trauma rather than punishing her symptoms. She found people who looked at her and saw not just her mistakes, but the wounded child behind them. She discovered her voice and began speaking her truth. And that's the second profound insight from my conversation with Tori Collins. Speaking your truth is a radical act of healing. There's something almost magical that happens when we give language to our pain, when we stop hiding, when we say out loud, "This happened to me and it wasn't my fault." The shame that thrives in silence begins to dissolve in the light of our own voice. The secrets that poison us from within lose their power when brought into the open. The isolation that compounds our suffering breaks when we realize we're not alone. But let's be honest, this isn't easy. Our brains are wired for self protection. When we experience trauma, especially as children, our nervous systems develop around that trauma. We build elaborate defense mechanisms. We construct identities designed to keep us safe from further harm. And those patterns don't just disappear because we decide they should. Healing isn't a straight line, it's messy. It's two steps forward, one step back. Some days you feel like you're flying, and others you find yourself right back in those old familiar patterns, wondering if anything has changed at all. But here's what Tory Collins wants you to know: you are not broken, you are not damaged goods, you are a miracle of resilience. Every time you choose to face your pain instead of numbing it, you're healing. Every time you extend compassion to yourself instead of criticism, you're healing. Every time you set a boundary that honors your worth, you're healing. And perhaps most importantly, you don't have to do it alone. This brings me to the third powerful insight from my conversation with Tori. Community empowers transformation. The Black Business Clique provides a compelling example of this principle in action. This online platform doesn't just promote Black owned businesses, it creates a community where entrepreneurs who often carry generational or personal traumas can find belonging and support. Many members face not only systemic racism, but also unaddressed emotional wounds stemming from family histories marked by hardship or instability. Through mentorship opportunities, marketing support, and peer encouragement forums, participants transform adversity into business success stories. What makes this community so powerful isn't just the practical resources it provides, it's the unspoken understanding that everyone there has overcome something significant. That resilience is their shared language. That vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the foundation of their collective strength. One member put it, for the first time, I didn't have to pretend I had it all figured out. I could show up with my dreams and my doubts, my ambitions and my anxieties, and be embraced for all of it. This is the power of finding your people, of creating spaces where masks can come off and healing can happen in the context of connection. Because here's the truth: trauma disconnects us from ourselves, from others, from our own bodies and emotions. Healing happens when we reconnect. Even institutions are beginning to recognize this fundamental truth. Take the scholarships established by Tory's LLP at McGill University. These aren't just financial awards, they represent institutional acknowledgement that past adversity should never bar future success. Recipients often face economic hardship compounded by prior traumatic experiences. But through financial support paired with mentorship programs, these students receive holistic support tailored to their unique circumstances. Many graduate at the top of their classes and go on to impactful careers, citing these scholarships as pivotal turning points that enabled not just educational achievement, but renewed self worth after years defined by struggle. What these examples show us, what Tory Collins' work illuminates so powerfully, is that transformation is possible. Not just for lucky few, but for anyone willing to embark on the journey. But transformation requires truth telling. It requires looking unflinchingly at what happened to us, not to wallow in victimhood, but to finally fully release ourselves from blame. Because here's what no one tells children experiencing trauma: it's not your fault. It wasn't your fault. that the adults in your life couldn't protect you. It wasn't your fault that systems failed you. It wasn't your fault that you developed coping mechanisms to survive. And the behaviors and beliefs that helped you survive then, you can thank them for their service and gently let them go. They got you here, but they don't need to determine where you go next. As Tory Collins so powerfully articulated during our interview, your past happened to you. Your future happens through you. I want you to really hear that. Your past happened to you. Your future happens through you. This isn't about toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. It's not about pretending the bad things never happened or that they didn't affect you deeply. It's about recognizing that while you couldn't control what happened to you as a child, you have more power than you realize over what happens next. You have the power to rewrite the narrative. You have the power to set boundaries that protect your peace. You have the power to surround yourself with people who see your light, not just your wounds. You have the power to create a life that feels like an act of defiance against everyone who said you wouldn't make it. And when you claim that power, when you refuse to be defined by your worst experiences, you become living proof for others that transformation is possible. This is perhaps the most beautiful part of healing. It ripples outward. When you heal yourself, you help heal the world. I think about Tony Kane again, whose advocacy has influenced public policy reforms regarding how institutions respond to survivors' needs. One woman's healing journey has literally changed systems that impact thousands of lives. Or consider the founders of Black Business Clique, who transformed their own experience of marginalization into a platform that lifts up hundreds of entrepreneurs across multiple industries. These aren't just success stories, they're testaments to the extraordinary capacity of the human spirit to not just survive trauma, but to alchemize it into something meaningful, something that serves others, something that changes the world. So I challenge you today, stop hiding your scars. They are not marks of shame, they are maps of your journey. They are proof of your incredible capacity to heal. Take one brave step toward owning your story. Share it with someone safe. Write it down. Speak it aloud to your reflection. However, you begin, just begin. And if you're already walking this path, reach out your hand. Be the person you needed when you were lost in your own darkness. Create space where others can show up fully with all their wounds and all their wonder. Because ultimately, this is how we heal our world, one truth teller at a time, one community at a time, one transformed life at a time. The poet Rumi wrote, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Your wounds have the potential to become portals for extraordinary light, not just for you, but for everyone your life touches. What if your deepest pain is actually preparing you for your greatest purpose? What if the very thing you've been hiding is exactly what the world needs you to share? This is your moment. Step into the light, break the silence, transform your trauma into triumph, not just for yourself, but for all of us. The world is waiting for your voice.